Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Jarvis here. You're with me on my IG, my FB, my YouTube, the Wisdom app, and LinkedIn. How's everybody doing today? It is Sunday Fun Day. Yes, Sunday Fun Day. I am so excited to have each and every one of you on here with me today. Now, tonight's discussion is going to be about dealing with criticism. All right, we're going to be talking about dealing with criticism, and I am going to make sure that I am going to I'm cutting myself off at 10:30. So that means that at this point we only have 30 minutes of this great show. So you got to stay like I'm talking about, stay dialed in, communicate, talk with me. That also means that there's going to come a point where I'm going to have to cut us off because we're going to have to pick it back up tomorrow. I'm just trying to do some things to get myself ready for post 90 days because I've been doing this. I've been on a 90-day journey, this 90-day challenge, the consistency, pulling the content together, the conversations that we've had, having the Impacts Rally. All of these things are all intentional. And the intentionality behind it is because my heart's desire is to see you go to the next level. Yes, to see you go to the next level. And everything that I do, every single thing that I do, I have this crazy ambition to see you succeed. And I want to see you succeed at another level. I want to see you succeed bigger than you did in 2021. We are in 2022, and I want to see you take it to the top in 2022. All right. So you got to break through this glass ceiling. Now, if you're on Facebook and YouTube, and I believe on LinkedIn as well, I'm going to put in the chat, the ability for you to go ahead and come in and be a part of the conversation. I would love for you to be a part of the conversation. I know that there are people who have some great content that they want to add, or some value that they want to add to the conversation. And that's what it's all about, is being able to have an open dialogue, open discussion, sticking in this 90 days. And I'm so glad that you guys have been here with me in the 90 days. And it hasn't been the easiest. I'm not even gonna lie to you. There's been some days where it's been tougher than others. But I'm glad that we are here. I'm glad that we are in this space. I believe that talking about criticism and how to handle criticism is a big thing when it comes to us and just our everyday life, because there are so many outside voices that come at us based off of what they see, and it's not necessarily what is actually happening. And I've experienced this. I know that you've experienced this. These are things that people experience in leadership. You experience it in relationships. You experience it in families. I've also found that sometimes people are they critique people, or they give criticisms, and they don't even really have all of the information. So it's like it's not even an educated criticism. I see my guy Jason, the great one. What's up, big fella? How you doing, big dog? It's good to see you, man. I'm so happy to see you on there, man. Hopefully you'll stick on and get some of this good content. You ain't got to go to school tomorrow. It's President's Day, so stay on and get some good content, man. Matter of fact, I would love to have you on here one day, Jay. I'd love to. I know that you've talked about wanting to get on live, so I'd love to get you on here and just get the perspective of a young man out here in these streets. I won't say in these streets because you ain't in the streets, but a young man, 14 years old, out here making changes, an absolute genius. And I'm happy to have you involved in the conversation. So let's dive in. Let's dive in. One of the things about me is I'm very big, and I'm a firm believer that the ability to define will give us the ability to fulfill. And what does that mean? That means that once we have a definition, we can fulfill what that definition is. We can help everybody understand what we're talking about. And in criticism, I looked up criticism, and in the dictionary, Webster's Dictionary, Google Dictionary, Wiki Dictionary, all of the dictionaries that had something very similar. And criticism is simply this: the expression of disapproval of someone or something based on perceived, hear that word, perceived, that's the operative word in there, faults or mistakes. So that means that a person can look at you, and if their perception is that that had a fault, or you made a mistake, that they are going to literally express their disapproval of what it is that you have going on. Now, we do know that there are different types of criticisms. We know that there is constructive criticism. Constructive criticism is when you're sitting with a leader or a mentor or a coach or a friend, or a lover, or a parent. You're sitting with somebody who is actually speaking to you, and they're giving you positive feedback. They're giving you positive input. They're saying, hey, listen, I saw that you did this, and it probably would have worked out a little bit better if you would have handled it like this, or it probably would have worked out a little bit better if you'd handled it like that. They're basically trying to take what you did and improve the process. As a matter of fact, if you think about it, coaches of teams do this all the time. They do it after every game. They look at the game, win or lose, they're going through and they're critiquing the team. And that is called constructive criticism, because the design of that type of criticism is to build up the individual, build up the team, to help them get to a place of winning. Or if they're already winning, to help them continue to keep winning. And so I want to encourage each and every one of you, as we're going through this tonight, to take some notes, jump in the conversation, ask some questions. You don't know what you don't know until you realize that you don't know it. Plain and simple. And when you say it like that, shout out to the team. I see they just jumped in. Good to see y'all on here. What's up? They're actually about to drop the actual what we're talking about into the chat. So that should pop up. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. You got to love when the team come through for you. You know what I'm saying? Good stuff. So in this conversation, we're going to talk about how to manage criticism, because we're all going to take criticism. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how young you are. It doesn't matter where you live. You're going to run into criticism. As a matter of fact, today I had the opportunity to go and I went to a service at Hillsong Atlanta. And I'd been meaning to go, and for some reason today it was just really heavy pressed on my heart. And it was a dope service, actually, absolutely dope service. And they mentioned that there was a docu-series that's going to be coming out, and this docu-series is quite frankly something that it can be very damaging to individuals that it's written about. That's criticisms. It's basically people taking a piece of a perceived what you perceived in your eyes view, what you perceived in your experience, and then turning it around and laying that out there for the world to see. So you want to make sure that, and I bring that up to say this because I want to make sure that we all understand that we face criticisms. There are people who look at us daily. There are people who see us daily, whether they're in the office with us or they're in the house with you. Whether they're at the store, they are critiquing your shoes, they're critiquing your clothes, they're critiquing your body shape. Like, we are under criticism all the time. And so what I want to do tonight is I want to start getting us on a path of being able to receive criticism and manage criticism healthily. I guess I should say healthily. I was gonna say healthy, but healthily. All right. Now, it's very important that we manage it healthily, because if we don't manage it in a healthy way, then there's two main things that can happen. Those two main things that can happen are, one, it can be a distraction. And when I say it can be a distraction, this is what happens when criticism is a distraction. When criticism is a distraction, it causes you to try to respond to it. You see people do this all the time on social media. They'll get criticized about a picture that they put, criticized about a song that they sing, criticized about a dance that they do, and then they're trying to respond, right? Immediately, they're diving in. It's probably one of the most unhealthy ways to handle criticism. You try to answer it, and I've seen people do that as well, where people will go ahead, and this, again, like, one great avenue is social media, and I don't just want to talk about social media. Let's talk about in the workplace. Somebody criticizes your work. You feel some kind of way. You get offended because you put your blood, sweat, and tears into it. They don't know what you went through to make this happen, but yet and still they're critiquing you. They're giving their perceived outlook to you, which is basically, a lot of times it's funny because it's unwarranted, unpetitioned criticism. Like, you're not saying, hey, tell me about myself. It's different if you say, hey, tell me about myself, or tell me about my job, tell me about the work. But that's not the case. So, with that, you don't want to get caught up in that. So you don't want to try to answer it. And again, like, answering it is you're trying to give a reason why it looks the way that it looks. The other thing, and this is something that's really crazy, is you try to prove that you're the opposite of whatever it is that they perceived. And that's a place where I've fallen into a lot when it comes to criticisms. There's people who don't know me, who, like, they have told me later on, when you walk into the room, you, like, the way you carried yourself, I thought you were going to be this real cocky, arrogant guy. If you know me, then you know that I'm not cocky or arrogant. And I remember back in the day, I used to try to do everything that I could to dispel that myth, to debunk it, to come against it. And then I realized that if I'm trying to prove to somebody that I'm not what they think I am, not what they think I am, chances are I'm trying to prove it to somebody who isn't going to believe me no matter what I say, because they've already made up in their mind that I'm what they think I am. Whatever their perception is now their truth. And they say perception and perspective. When you have a different perception, perception is truth. So you try to help people catch the right perception of who you are. Now, in looking at this and the distraction piece of it, I want you guys to ask yourself, when was the last time that I was criticized about something? Every single one of us got critiqued on something, whether it was your hair, whether it was the clothes you have on, whether it was the way you said something. It could be something that you posted. Whatever the case is, I guarantee you, if you think about it, you were criticized about something this past week. My next question is, how did you handle it? Did you try to respond to it? Because if you did, then it was a distraction to you. It took time away from something else that you could be doing, because now you're trying to respond to it. Did you answer it? Because if that's the case, then now it's still a distraction. It's a time thief. It's taking time away from you that you could be putting into spending with your family, that you could be putting into spending with your loved ones, your spouse, your boo thing, whatever. Time that you could be putting into your business, time that you could be putting into just work, writing your book, whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing. It can take away from all of these things. Or did you try to prove that you weren't what it was that they thought you were? Either way, all of those things that I just mentioned are distractions. So, in helping you to manage criticisms in a healthy way, I want you to start identifying the things that are distractions. Ask yourself those questions. The second thing that can happen when if you don't manage criticism in a healthy way, is it can be damaging to you personally. It can be damaging to your development. I remember as a kid, I used to walk around the house. I probably in middle school, walk around the house singing in the house. Wanted to be like Boyz II Men, wanted to be like Jodeci. I'm walking around the house. Ooh yeah, you know what I'm saying? You just walking around the house. Oh God, give me a reason. I'm out there. I'm trying to get Wanye's. I'm trying to get his look down. I'm like, nah, 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 nah. Anybody who knows Wanye from Boyz II Men, that's how he was moving around. He's like, but I was trying to get the look and everything down. Needless to say, I remember one day my sister was like, "Boy, would you shut up? Don't nobody want to hear you sing." I can't stand it. Now, what she was doing is I was getting on her nerves, but getting on her nerves, she criticized me about singing. And what ended up happening is I was supposed to be getting ready to sing in a talent show, and I came up with some excuse not to sing in the talent show. And oh man, I'm so sorry, baby girl, because I never told you this, and you're probably going to watch this, and this will be the first time that you hear me say this. Just know that your brother loves you, and I care, and I know that we were young, so I do not hold this against you. So please forgive me for sharing it, and I never told you about it. But my sister said that to me, and the critique of what she had to say cut so deep that I didn't want to sing, because in my mind I immediately started thinking about, if my sister doesn't like what I'm doing, man, nobody at my school is gonna like what I'm doing. Nobody's gonna want to hear me sing. No, and I started to I closed myself in, and I came up with some excuse as to why I couldn't be in the talent show. I had no real reason why. I just came up with some excuse as to why I couldn't be in the talent show, but it was all hinged on the criticism that I got from my sister. Now, I'm sharing that not to put my sister on blast, because my sister has got my back. She supported me in everything that I've ever done, whether I made the best decision or the worst decision. She's been there. I'm sharing that to say this. That's just a sign of how, when you're criticized, if you don't handle it in a healthy way, it can be damaging to you, and it can stop your development. There are people who have stopped going to the gym because they were at the gym and some trainer critiqued them that they didn't ask for. It was unwarranted. I didn't ask for your advice. You know what I'm saying? I didn't excuse me? Did I solicit that from you? No. However, when that trainer or that person who looked like they're in better shape than them came and said something to them, that criticism then triggered something in their mind, and it made them feel like they probably didn't belong in there, and their esteem is shot, and now it stops their development. The same thing happens when we're in the workspace. When you critique somebody, you criticize somebody on what it is that they're doing. If you're not developing them and you're critiquing them, then you're tearing them down when you're critiquing them. It's criticism in the worst way. There's a difference: constructive criticism and criticism that's going to tear somebody down. And anytime you give criticism without, I mean, especially when you give unsolicited, unwarranted, unrequested criticism, it generally has a tendency to kind of hurt the person that you think that you're trying to help, because you're not really informed. You know, it's a difference when you're talking to them and you're having that conversation, you ask them a question and then you critique them. But when you're not talking to them and you're not asking those questions and you critique them, you're damaging them. So I know that I just spent a lot of time talking about managing why it's important that we manage criticism in a healthy way. I have my man Dominic Harris over here on the Wisdom app, and so I'm going to bring him up in just a second. But I want you guys to get this. The reason why it's important the two reasons why it's very important that we manage criticism in a healthy way is because it can become a distraction and it can become damaging to our development. Now, after I talk with Dominique for a second here, then I'm going to come back up and I'm going to go in and I'm going to talk about what's more damaging. You know, is it more damaging for people to criticize you that you know, or is it more damaging for people who criticize you that you don't know? All right, think about that. Matter of fact, go ahead and put that in the chat. You know, your answers in the chat. What do you think? What's more damaging to you and more of a distraction to you, when you get criticized by people that you know, or when you get criticized by people that you don't know? And I'm bringing my man Dominique up to the table. He's got 5 minutes with me. This is a young man from Shottown, the city of Wynn. Yo, Dominique, what's up, my guy?
What's up, Jarvis?
How you feeling, man?
I'm good.
Yes, sir. The young man with the plan. So you know the topic tonight, dealing with criticism. What you got on your mind?
Yeah, I just want to get into how we can, I know, like social interaction, like how important that is.
Okay.
I feel like it's like two. I stutter a lot, but
it's okay. It is okay. You can take your time. You got 5 whole minutes with me, brother.
I just came it's crazy because I just came up with a realization today actually about social interactions, and I feel like it's like two different social interactions. Like the one when we're aware ourselves, like how we interact with ourselves and how we interact daily throughout and then we have social interactions with the people, with people, like individuals that's just like us,
right?
That wake up the same, and that's how you say perspective and all those other things. But how can I explain that, like criticism? But
well, go ahead. You got it.
It's so different only because we all have that. You all have a creative. I keep on bringing up creative too, but you all have that that sight of seeing. I don't know. How can I explain that? But dog, how can I even explain that? But,
well,
without putting in weird words.
Nah, it's okay. It's just say what's on your heart. Like you say it, and I will help give balance and help smooth it out. Because I wrote down that you were talking about social interactions, and you were talking about 2 different types of social interactions. One where you're interacting with yourself, and then another where you're interacting with people who are like-minded, that do things the way that you do, right? And so you were flowing with that, going into talking about criticisms, and so I'm listening to you. Go ahead, man.
Then we have the criticism, so it's I'm pretty sure unless the individual's breathing down your back and trying to actually critiquing, paying attention to everything you do. I mean, criticism is just based off what the other individual sees,
Mm-hmm.
It's so weird how perception can be deceiving and unpredictable and all these other things, because no one really knows what they perceive because no one really knows how another person thinks.
Right.
So
right.
So when criticism is, I mean, depending on if a person can gain a deep understanding of what's actually going on and all those other things. I don't know if criticism management. I feel like that's a good thing too, because I feel like we need to differentiate what people find abnormal from their point of view and from a person that can actually understand what a person is doing,
right,
and from their perspective.
Right. And it's funny that you said that. And I wrote down criticism management because that's literally pretty much what we're talking about is managing your like when you deal with criticism the right way. So let me ask you this question because I was going to put it out there and I was going to ask, oh, I asked everybody before I brought you up. What do you feel like is more damaging to you as an individual? Is it more damaging to be critiqued by people that you know, or does it hurt and sting a little bit more when you're critiqued or criticized by people that you don't know?
Honestly, when people criticize me and I know them, only because even though they know me, they don't. They do, but they don't at the same time.
Uh-huh.
So it's like when a person critiques, when a person try to criticize you based off of it, I'm willing to listen, but it's like, okay, well, how much do you know and how much do you don't know?
Right.
That's always a question, but like it always. I think the people that try to that I know could criticize me, but the criticism actually like it's not in depth about understanding as deep as I understand it. So it's like, okay, well, like is it surface level or is it deeper than what you're saying it is? So like I don't know.
No, that's you brought up some good points. I know I got you for about 30 more seconds. And just because the amount of time that I have left, I'm not going to be able to bring it back up. But what you brought up is a great point because there's a lot of people who give uninformed criticisms. They don't know you. They think they know you, but they don't really know you. And I believe that's where you're going with it. So go ahead. You got 10 seconds. Go ahead and give me what you got, man.
Criticism should be based upon like I don't know.
It's okay, man. It's okay. Yo, Dominique, make sure you tune back in tomorrow because we're gonna hit part 2 of this criticism piece. And I'll pick up where I left off with you. So I asked the question: what is more damaging or distracting when you get criticized by people that you know, or you get criticized by people that you don't know? I personally, it's more damaging and distracting to me to get criticized by people that I know. And when I say criticize, I'm not talking about the constructive criticism. I welcome constructive criticism because that's the only way that I'm going to get better. But when you're criticized by people that you don't know, when people who are people that you don't know, it doesn't really sting as much. Now, when I'm talking about damaging or distracting, I'm talking about to me as an individual. And that's what I was referring to is to you as an individual. We know that there are certain things that can be damaging or distracting to people, their brands. Like, you have the thing that's going on with Hillsong Church. Okay, that's distracting. You have the things that have happened in social media with celebrities. Those things are distracting. People criticizing Dave Chappelle. That can be damaging and distracting to his his public world, but in his private world, he seems to be handling it pretty well, right? So let's say that those things that were being said, and let's just take Dave Chappelle, the things that were being said about his last stand up, okay, if it was his wife critiquing him, if it was those comics, those friends that are close to him giving him those criticisms, then it would sting a little bit more. It would cause him to sit and have pause a little longer to try to adjust and readjust, because now it becomes something where, okay, wait a minute, this is in my sphere of influence where this critique is coming from. It does sting and it does hurt more. I told the story just a moment ago about how my sister, when I was in middle school, she criticized me about my singing around the house, and it stopped me from going out and doing a talent show that I know I probably should have won. Especially thinking back now, I would have won that thing. But I had it ready. I was gonna sing a song by Shy, coming right back at you. Now let me quit, y'all. But yeah, that's the truth. Like whenever I get criticized, I can look at things, I post on social media, and I know that once things go out into the world of the internet never fails. It never loses. It wins every single time, because there's so many people who are so opinionated, who are going to throw their thoughts, their ideas, their expectations at you, on you, and like just troll you down pretty much. Those criticisms that come across like that, it doesn't really affect me because I don't necessarily know that person. But the people who I know, let's say it's a criticism that comes from my mom. Let's say it's a criticism that comes from my cousin. Let's say it's a criticism. Like there's the people who are, if I'm getting, if somebody's saying something about me, a team that I'm leading, I've had this happen before where I'm leading a team and I'm giving them everything that I got, and I love these people so much, and I care about them, and I'm putting in the extra hours. I'm talking in rooms, building them up in rooms that they haven't even been in. I'm sitting at tables that they should be sitting at, talking about, hey, so and so should be sitting in that chair. But then I get the heavy criticism from the very one that I'm fighting for. That stings. That hurts. They don't know that you're fighting for them behind the scenes. They don't know that you're trying to champion their cause, but yet they hit you with something and they say something to the effect of like, "Oh, you're just trying to hold me down." Think about it. Think about how many times you, as a leader, if you're somebody on here who's a leader, a mentor, a coach, even parents, where you're whoever it is that's leading up to you has gone to somebody else and said something, and it's not you at all. Think about how much that hurts. Think about how much that stings. And that's what I mean when I say that it stings more, it hurts more coming from people that I know, because you would think that they would know you enough to not believe that that would happen to you. I had a mentor one time who he, based off of some things that other people said, we had a phone conversation, and at the end of the conversation he said something to me that was so harsh, and he meant it, but it hurt, and it hurt so much, because I was like, that's not who I am. That is not me. There was no truth behind anything that anybody else had to say, and you're sitting here, you're thinking like, what have I done to cause you not to believe that I would always catch your back? I can think of another time where I was a part of an organization, and one of my leaders thought that I was like just trying to do my own thing and coming for him. And I wasn't. I just wanted to support what they had going on. I wanted to build the brand. I wanted to build the team. I wanted to take things to the next level. I wanted to support everything that came out of their mouth, but they saw it as something else. Remember what I said, criticism is the expression of disapproval of someone or something based on perceived faults, not even that it's real. And in both situations, I was able to go back and have conversations with these individuals. And there were apologies that were given, and they were able to see like, hey, yeah, no, he really isn't that guy. He's this guy over here. And yeah, I'm like, yo, that's me all the time. It's challenging when you're dealing with criticisms, because there's, like I said, in the world of criticism, there's constructive criticism, and then there's criticism that's going to be damaging and distracting to you. And the best way to handle this, and I cannot get off of this live tonight and not give you some things to do to be able to basically manage these criticisms in a healthy way, at least through tonight, because we're going to come back tomorrow. We have another portion of this topic that we're going to talk about. We're going to dive a little bit deeper, but I need to give you some things to walk away with that I do personally. Now, one thing about me, and you guys have heard me say this in the past, is that I predetermine what my response is going to be in various situations. So when I put something out, I have to predetermine, like, how am I going to respond when people come at me about my opinion on something? How am I going to respond when people don't like the outfit I have on? How are people going to respond if they don't? How am I going to respond if somebody says I don't like your hair? And how is somebody going to respond if somebody says I don't like the way you shape yourself? Like, whatever the case is, how are you going to respond? So you have to predetermine what your response is going to be. Something that I was actually I was listening to Darius Daniels, and there's something that he put out a while ago, and I wrote these things down. It's funny because I've been giving these to clients as questions for them to ask themselves as they're facing things or daily. But he said it, and it came right back to me, and I was like, "Yo, that's exactly what I do." But I've done it so often that I don't think it through. To try to process, that's what I'm doing. I just do it. It's kind of routine now. So one of the things is that I want you to do is, like, if there's a problem, the minute that you have a problem, if you have not predetermined how you're going to respond to something, then let this be your plan of action. If something happens and you've gotten critiqued, let it be a social media post that somebody's like responding to when they talking crazy, or somebody's just talking crazy, just be talking crazy, or it's at the job, or it's in your team. Whatever the case is, the one thing that you cannot do is you cannot react. Do not react. All right? You have to stop. And the first thing is, I want you to ask yourself this question: what just happened? Like, and this is an internal conversation. It can be an inner monologue. You can go to the bathroom, take a couple deep breaths, whatever the case is, ask yourself, what just happened? And then I want you to ask yourself, what and how did that make me feel? Because you have to re-engage with yourself. You have to understand that your feelings are the manifestation of what your emotions are on the inside. They're the outward manifestation of what your emotions are on the inside. So ask yourself, what and how did that make me feel? The next thing is I need you to ask yourself this, okay? What story am I telling myself behind all of that? That's a good one right there. You got to ask yourself that question. What story am I telling myself behind all of that? And then what I want you to do is I want you to stop, because I tell people cease and seize the moment. And I want you to ask yourself, what counterintuitive action should I take? What does that mean? Counterintuitive. And your intuitive action is when you just react. It's like, oh, you said what? You know, you slap. I'm sorry. I had to do it twice just so I get both cameras. But no, you don't want to do that. So you have to say, what counterintuitive action should I take? And that's what you want to do. Now, something else that I want you to do I want you to start doing this is, you know what? You're going to have to tune in tomorrow. And I'm going to have to give it to you tomorrow because I'm out of time. But those are the questions that I want to leave you with. If you run into a situation and you're facing criticism, I want you to ask yourself those questions that I just listed. What just happened? What and how did it make me feel? What story am I telling myself? What narrative am I writing about what just happened? What story am I telling? And what counterintuitive action should I take? And you want to make sure you take the best actions. So, hey, listen, if this is your boy, we have actually hit that 10:30 time. And I want you to know that I absolutely love each and every one of you. This has been Jarvis TV. I'll be back tomorrow evening. So you want to catch part 2 of, what did I call this tonight? Oh, man, there's so much good stuff I got to give you. I want to tell it to you, but you got to be back tomorrow night. So dealing with criticism. So tomorrow I'll be dealing with criticism part 2. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper. Thank you so much, Dominique Harris, my young man of 18 years. Out there in Chicago, bringing it in. Thank you so much for pushing past and pushing through and sharing. And thank you to each and every one of you for being on. So this is your boy Jarvis, and we are out of here. And so those of you who are on IG, you're going to hear the outro. Those of you who are on Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn, you are going to be able to see the outro. And for those of you who are over here on the Wisdom app, you're going to have to listen to it. But this is your boy Jarvis, and we'll be back tomorrow evening with another edition of Jarvis TV. I love y'all. Have a good night. Peace.
What are your dreams? What's been stopping you from your dreams? I'll tell you, it's been yourself. So look yourself in the eye and say, you can't stop me. Now tell yourself, I was built for this. No, tell yourself, I was built for this. I was made to last. This is what I was meant for. Now what I want you to do is I want you to quit sleeping and dreaming. See, my great-grandma told me this. She said, nothing comes to a sleeper but a dream. And if you sit there and that dream just sits there, it's going to spoil. So you need to get up and get out there and make something happen. If you ever wondered, if you had it on the inside of you, I'm telling you now, greatness is there. It's been waiting for you since day one. Open the door, let greatness in, grab her by the hand, and go get your destiny. You were not built to be a failure. You were built to last. Now get out there and go do something.